For my son, it's actually a book of vernacular architecture in Singapore, of places that have either been demolished or are in danger of being demolished because they're not deemed historically important or they've not been given conservation status. Much of the architecture behind me here in Queenstown hasn't changed very much, and to me that's really a good thing because I keep coming back here because this place holds memories for me and it's still more or less like what I remember it to be.
In fact, this particular playground got its moment of fame in Royston Tan's short film Old Places. Partially because, at least I believe, it was the kind of nostalgic feeling of the mosaic finished pelican, the tortoise and the rabbit. Well, the last I know is that it was knocked down, in fact, last year.
I think playgrounds are an important part of Singapore's culture and heritage. Having originally started as a stopgap measure in space-scarce Singapore, it is something that will be included in every Singaporean's childhood, and I hope Singapore doesn't lose that.
Moving on, I think that we're just going to get lots and lots of skyscrapers in this country because we are such a small island and there's so many people here and we intend to have more people, so really the only way is up.
I think that playgrounds, they haven't changed essentially, but pet shops, they have changed. They have migrated to higher end shops, and I think that while these higher end shops, they allow for greater development and all, I think that it just loses a bit of the nostalgia that pet shops located in the heartlands originally had. If I had a choice, I would have retained the location of the pet shops. Because they were located in the heartlands, it was easily accessible for everyone. And I think that's part of the charm of pet shops. Being able to just, say, walk downstairs and step into one, whenever you needed a breather or something, just to go there and relax.
You see some memories of the past, being demolished, which you feel quite pitiful about. The National Theatre was also one of those places that I frequent while wandering around, at the Muhammad Sultan area. Perhaps at least that 5 pointy triangular pieces, should have been incorporated in some A&A work or something. I just got this feeling that that was like the turning point and got everybody, got a lot of people's attention that we should really do something about conserving our past. The Sports Hub, which will be hosting obviously the National Stadium and many other events, will be my small little contribution towards the Singapore skyline. Because I still remember those days where I bought $1 tickets to watch semi-pro at the old National Stadium during my JC days. And I really want to believe that this new stadium can bring this back to the next generation.
I often tell people that you can go away from Singapore for a month and when you've come back there's a new shopping mall that's just opened and something has been demolished. So at the rate that we are going, our young are going to grow up not knowing what kind of architectural past the country has, because by the time they're old enough, places from their childhood will no longer be around.
Singapore is renowned for how quickly it changes itself, and so it is more difficult to get a sense of history. I do a lot of walking at weekends. What I find really interesting is to look at old buildings, because old buildings didn't have the easy option of air conditioning. And then, quite interestingly for me, you see around Singapore the schools, the schools that were made in I think the 50s, 60s and 70s. And the fact that many of these have survived and have been adapted for different uses, I think is a great thing to see. I would like to see a bit more wild than managed. The thing that hits you as soon as you fly into Singapore, especially from another Asian city, is the lush greenery. And yes, it's something that's changing. Well, of course it's changing. The trees are growing up and you get more and more greenery. And that is just such a precious thing. And Singapore has got to really try hard to live with a bit of nature, hopefully less managed than it currently is. But then there's also nicer ones like Labrador Park, where we got involved in putting that walkway through the mangroves. You know, the little natural corner, you know, found itself growing next to an oil refinery. And you know, interestingly about Labrador Park Creek there is that you've got some of the rarest mangroves in Southeast Asia. 20 years ago, the assumption was that if you wanted a place that Singaporeans would go, the assumption was it had to be a place that was air conditioned. But increasingly, whether it's developers or creators of public space, are recognising that it's too cold in air conditioned spaces often. You also see these spaces at the Star at Buena Vista, where we worked with an architect and a client that was prepared to create a shopping centre that wasn't air conditioned. And I think it's been very popular because people aren't stuck inside. They're attached to the environment. They are not feeling too cold. They're not feeling penned in, but they're still comfortable. You know, there's enough shade and breeze there for them to meet and enjoy the outside. I'm very honoured to have been recognised as Green Engineer of the Year. It gives me a nice platform to talk about a lot of things, show people the examples of what we've done, and draw to their attention how you know, we have created very usable spaces that have had a dramatic impact on energy consumptions. Also try on a more broader level to people outside the industry, try and hope that they will notice that there are more of these spaces where they can go and they shouldn't expect it to be air conditioned, and in fact they might enjoy it not to be air conditioned. And if we can have a greater awareness of lifestyle without air conditioning in Singapore, then that will have had a really big impact on how Singaporeans think of where they live and how they live and their impact on the earth.
It's really up to developers, architects, as well as the government to see how buildings from the past can be mixed with buildings from the future that are yet to be built, as well as public spaces, because we really do need to conserve some of our heritage in the form of buildings, and not only buildings that are historically significant or from the colonial era.